Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today I'll be doing a review of the 1957 Akira Kurosawa film, The Lower Depths. But before I go into that review, please make sure that you smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey. It really does mean a lot. Also, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel with that bell notification turned on. That way you know every time a new video or live stream goes live on the channel. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this review of The Lower Depths, which sadly has only ever officially been released on DVD by Criterion. They have not done an actual Blu-ray release of this film, though if you get the Criterion channel, which I have actually been thoroughly enjoying, not only just the free trial that I got, but I think I'm going to continue on for probably a few more months because there's just so many films, especially as far as Japanese cinema is concerned, on that platform. And for about $10 a month, that seems like a pretty good deal. Plus, you get access to high-quality HD 1080p versions of films that have not yet actually had physical transfers see the light of day. And part of me kind of wonders, and I started to ask this question as I was watching this movie, if that's kind of like a plan of Criterion to have certain films only released on DVD out of print where the prices are, crazy high and you can only really get the films secondhand from collectors, and kind of hold back on actually releasing higher quality versions of certain movies, trying to, of course, entice people to join their platform. It is, again, I think a pretty good model, but obviously as a collector of physical media, it does make me a bit frustrated because this is probably another one of my favorite Akira Kurosawa movies after now having seen it. So this is actually based on the 1902 play by Maxim Gorky. So it's interesting how this is a change from, once again, a play, a story that's already previously been told in a different time, in a different location, and Akira Kurosawa was able to adapt it to Edo-era Japan. And I always love the way that Kurosawa is able to make these adaptations work. In fact, I've even said it before, I think that Kurosawa's adaptations are so much better than even the originals. Obviously never even having heard of this play, this Russian play before. Obviously this is a little bit different than, the Shakespearean adaptations that he's done, but every single time he gets his hands on a story, he is just able to elevate it to an entirely new level. And I just think there's something, and this is probably a bias of mine now, but there's just something about the Edo period in Japan, and something about that time period and the way that people are presented and the way that these characters are able to work together that is just so great to watch, because this story really is a character story. I think there's a lot of symbolism that one can find in the story. I mean, the lower depths, typically when you hear that expression, you probably think the lower depths of hell, and the concept of hell is brought up consistently throughout the story by all of these different characters interacting with each other, because essentially all of the characters are poor. All of these characters are in the bottom dregs of society. In fact, there's these really great shots and sequences where you have this little shed, essentially, where all of these people are living, and then right across is where the landlord and his wife are living, and then you have these shots where you actually see people on top of what looks like this cliff, looking down, walking around on their own. Towards the end, they're all looking down, and I really just love the symbolism, and I love the visual that creates of really showing that these are indeed the bottom rungs of society, like the lower depths, not just of hell, but the lower depths of society. And it really is a character piece, and luckily this film features an incredible performance once again by Tashir Mafuni, who is actually, again, similar to how in previous reviews that I've mentioned, the last several reviews where I've mentioned that I was surprised that certain characters were not really leads, but more so supporting characters. In this film, Tashir Mafuni is definitely like a title character as far as name recognition and as far as being, probably listed first in all of the promotional materials, but he is really a supporting character. I mean, there's this older man character that I think gets a lot more screen time, a lot more lines than Tashir Mifuni's character does. And obviously I could be wrong on that, but it just that was the perception that I got from it. But it was just really interesting to see how they were able to really have this ensemble cast work really well together. And obviously Tashir Mifune is going to add, just tons and tons of levels to that because of just how talented he is. But then you also have this amazing performance given by Isuzu Yamada, who it had mentioned had gotten nominations or had won awards for other films that were connected to Akira Kurosawa before. I'm trying to see which one specifically because there was one specifically that I was like, oh yeah, that's right. She played this woman. Yeah, there it is right there. She was in Throne of Blood and played Lady Asagi. And I immediately, when I saw that and I saw that reference, I was like, that's right. She was giving this amazing performance in it. By the way, Akira Kurosawa did 2 movies in 1957. Throne of Blood, which again is also one of my favorite Kurosawa films because of just how well it's able to adapt the story of Macbeth. And now The Lower Depths as well. And it just kind of blows your mind when you realize that, especially in Japanese cinema, people like Kurosawa were able to put out 2 movies in a year. And obviously they were probably filmed at different times, but still, 2 movies in a year being put out, being released, is something that you don't really see a whole lot nowadays. And the fact that both of them are such high quality on every single level is really just something that is worth commending and is worth really pointing out in this way. And it just also kind of reminds me of the Zatoichi franchise, where you had 2 or 3 films being put out every single year, and even though the story is mostly the same in many of the stories, it's still so entertaining and so much fun, and it just makes you realize how far modern day Hollywood has really fallen. And The Lower Depths, especially with the amazing acting from all of the cast, the amazing character story, again, about these people who are in the lower dregs of society, and many of them either not realizing it, not recognizing it. You know, this old man character is coming around and he's very much a, hey, things are much better than you think. There are better places to go. And yet, even he is holding something back, right? Even he is in a lot of ways lying to himself, right? There's a lot of conversation here about the lies that we tell ourselves and how we keep ourselves going. And this wise character is kind of able to also throw in another wrench into this dynamic by saying, no, there are these positive things that we can look into, but even me, this older man who has this positive outlook, even I am not perfect. Even I am kind of on the run, as when the police come up and when there's a lot of problems coming up towards the end of the film, when a murder happens, he's like, oh, I'm going to get out of here. Best not to stick around, because clearly he himself is probably wanted for various crimes. But overall, The Lower Depths is a completely fantastic film. A lot of the movie takes place in just this one room. The entire time it was being filmed, and the entire time I was watching it, I'm like, man, this would be a really good play. And obviously this is before I knew it was based off of a Russian play. But even the way Kurosawa films it is very much like a play for the most part, where all of the sequences, again, for the most part, are taking place in this one room, in this shack, where all of these people are tenants and are sleeping and are trying to live. And it's just, again, a great cast of characters. All of them have different backstories. And the fact that in a little over 2 hours, they're able to give so much backstory and enough backstory on every single character where you actually care about them and you're interested in their interactions is just something that we don't really see too much of in today's world and in today's cinema. So again, fantastic writing, acting, all the stuff that's there. I'm actually interested now in looking into the actual play, The Lower Depths, but something tells me that it's just not going to be as good as what Kurosawa was able to do, because again, Kurosawa is even able to elevate the craft so much that he even outdoes Shakespeare at his own game. And I think that that is something that is always worth commending. So glad to be back in a Kurosawa phase, because I think I'm going to try and watch another bunch of Kurosawa films, especially since there's a couple more still that feature Tashir Mafuni in non-Edo era, non-samurai era Japan. So it'll be a little bit different and a little bit interesting to see that, because that's obviously my favorite era of Kurosawa and one of my favorite eras of Japanese cinema. But I'm still excited to see it nonetheless because of what he was able to do story-wise with this, not having any samurais, not having any sword work whatsoever. Definitely has me, very, very excited. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and give this film a solid A. I really honestly enjoyed this film more than I thought that I would. Not that I didn't think I was not going to enjoy a Kurosawa film, but there's really not a whole lot of conversation about this movie I see, as far as, trying to find, YouTubers talking about it and trying to find, because I was kind of confused a little bit. I was like, is there a deeper meaning here that maybe I've missed? Because I feel like there are these deeper meanings, but everywhere I looked, no one was really talking about it. And the only YouTube video I could really find talking about it were these 2 people who were doing like a Kurosawa podcast, and they didn't even like the film. One of them even said that this is, I never thought that Kurosawa could make a bad movie, but this was a bad movie. And I'm like, what were you even watching at this point? And again, it makes me sad. It makes me so sad that this film is only available on DVD and not available officially on Blu-ray. But again, that is definitely something that is a benefit to the Criterion Channel's benefits. But I really do hope they put this out on Blu-ray one day, because, man, so freaking good. But anyway, what are your thoughts on The Lower Depths? Have you seen it before? Again, I just think there's so much great symbolism in this story and great character work and interactions between these characters as well. And also, I think that image of Tashir Mafuni on the DVD cover is pretty fantastic and pretty great. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, especially that pinned comment as well. Make sure you like the video. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. It really does help and mean a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Go ahead and check out my website, ombreviews.com, for more information about streaming schedules and ways of contacting me and supporting the channel. You're all amazing, beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my July Patreon and Subscribe Star members: Andrew Hoyle, Biffer de Hobbit, Brian P., Dion, Don Bruno de la Mancha, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Harold Francis, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Carney, Laura, the Modern Major General's Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina B, and Tina Bojan. Thank you all very much for supporting me over on Patreon, and also to my Subscribe Star members: Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, John B, Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / the new number 2, J. the Beer Guru, and ZK Man. Thank you all very much for being here today. And if you want to have your name shouted out at the end of every single live stream and video on the channel, please make sure to check out the links in the description of ways that you can support me over on Patreon and Subscribe Star as well. It gives you access to things like giveaways of Blu-rays, 4Ks, and digital codes. Also, access to a podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger, where we have a lot of fun. We also answer Q&A questions as well. And also, you might get access to the Chosen of Valhalla level, which gives you access to a once-a-month podcast exclusively, where I bring on you to the main channel with everyone else who is at the level, and we all just talk about movies, pop culture, and tons of fun stuff like that. And also, of course, Tina, who is the Empress of the Universe, is going to give us tons of reviews of movies and also maybe a couple of awesome rants here and there as well. So if that sounds fun to you, make sure you go ahead and check out those links. Again, you're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.